Today I'm joined with a very special guest, Mr. Vine, who is the head of the Technological Studies here at SCCI. Today we'll be talking about the many roles he fills, which include construction woodworking teacher, department head, the champion of the Junior Carpenters Program, developer of the Bikes and Boats course, as well as the founder and principal boat builder of STEM to Stern, a community boat building social enterprise. Just reading this list of things makes me tired. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk to me about your many successes.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Now, many teachers earn their degree and then pursue a career teaching in that subject. Your path was a little less straightforward. Can you tell us a little bit about how you went from a degree in administration and commercial studies and then went to teaching tech?
It's a bit convoluted. So my father's in finance, so it made sense for me to follow in his footsteps. So I went to Western for a commerce degree. But halfway through the degree, I realized that I was not really a numbers guy, aside from the fact that I happen to have a math degree, right? So I'm not really a numbers guy. I can't sit still very well, as you may have heard. So after the degree was done, I was wandering around on a day off, and I happened into a bookstore. I wandered over to the magazine section, and there on the rack was a magazine called Wood and Boat. You may be familiar with it.
I am.
So on the front cover of this magazine was a picture of a mahogany Chris Craft runabout, which is just a beautiful looking boat up in Halliburton. And that magazine just told me that I just had to be a woodworker. So I took the whole degree and I set it aside, and I went to Humber College and picked up an apprenticeship in cabinet making, and that kind of changed the whole route.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really cool. And so you were very fortunate to help with the design of this new school,
I was.
which actually opened the year that I was born, so I think that's pretty cool.
Wow.
That makes me feel kind of young, but also kind of old at the same time. And so what was that experience like to be involved with the new design of the school?
It was amazing, because very few teachers are able to say that they've had an opportunity to design their workspace or their work environment. Most people just happen onto it. So we left the old school and we moved here, and I spent 10 years at the old school, which allowed me to appreciate what worked and what didn't. The most challenging part was working with designers, architects, engineers, because they work from a template set down by the government, and there's certain things that they have to put in place. But I know from experience that there are things that work better with the kids in the classroom and things that don't. So the biggest challenge was working with the architects and engineers to make it the way I teach well versus the way that they are told that teachers work well. Having said that, I was able to set up my workspace the way that I teach, and I think that in the long run it's been beneficial to my students.
That's really cool. Yeah. And so I would like to talk about the incredible success of your dual credit techno math course, which is the Bikes and Boat course. What is that course all about?
Techno math, so it's half technology and half mathematics. We downplay the mathematics side because if we talk too much about mathematics, the kids wouldn't come to class.
Okay.
So we bury the math in the tech so that students don't really know that they're learning math. You want to know how it came about or just what it looks like?
Kind of both. Tell me all about it.
So let's see. About 5 years ago, I was asked to come up with a program that would engage some of our most reluctant learners. So I went online and I did a search for basically that. How can you incorporate reluctant learners and woodworking and basically all of my passions and pull them all together in one room at one time? And I came up with this man named Joe Yucha, who is now my hero, because everyone needs a hero. And in 1977, Joe Yucha saw all these kids living on the street in Alexandria, Virginia, and decided he needs to come up with a program to get the kids off the street and back into school. So he designed a boat, and he kind of went out there on the limb, like I do frequently, and he just established a program and then tried to get everybody interested in it. So he brought all these street kids in off the street. They got re-engaged. They were able to learn math and incorporate team building skills and problem solving skills and math skills and all that stuff into one showcase project, which was the boat. So I studied that, and I've been running around the United States for the last 5 years like a crazy man. Chicago and St. Michael's and New York and all these areas, following him as he trains people in basically the concept of engaging kids through the art of wooden boat building.
And then what does that class look like? Because you said it's a dual credit sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So do they spend 2 periods a day in that class, or how does that look?
They do. So they're with me all morning long.
Oh, okay.
And in some cases, because they are more engaged than I had anticipated, instead of riding the bus, they'll ride their bikes to school an hour early. And instead of going for lunch, they'll hang out in the room after. So not unlike contact,
Yeah,
right?
that's very true.
Right. So they live in the room because it's comfortable, and because there's no such thing as making mistakes, right? So it's a pretty safe environment. So it's a team taught course. So last year I was in there with Miss Dominga, and she focused on the math side of things, and I focused on the construction side of things. So there's a ton of math in building a boat, but we just don't tell the kids that they're doing math.
Right, yes.
We just have them do it.
Because when you hear math, you get kind of scared.
You do. You do. So every time we give them a problem to solve, even though it's a math problem, it's engineered to help with the boat.
Okay.
So they just think that they're doing calculations to go on with the next step on the boat, which they are, but in fact they're covering the entire grade 10 locally developed math curriculum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then, as one more bonus, to make sure that the kids actually come to class, this is the bikes component.
Yep.
I thought, well, what's one more thing that I really, really enjoy doing? And that's cycling. So the key to making this a success is finding out what your passions are in life, because then the kids pick up on that. So if the kids see that I'm excited and I'm passionate about all the things that go on in the room, then they pick up on that and they go with it. So Kelly Morris, our school nurse, she puts a feeler out there, and she gets the community to donate used and broken bicycles. Then I bring in Doug and Marion's bike shop in town, and their mechanic comes in every Monday morning, and he works one-on-one with our students in the room. They repair the bikes. After they repair them, then we get on the bikes and we ride around Strathroy. So they get nature therapy and phys ed and all that stuff. So then when they come back, then they're re-energized and ready to go on with the rest of the lesson. So it's just plain fun.
Wow, that sounds like fun, actually.
It is. Yeah, you should sign up.
Maybe I will. Now, as a person who spent a great deal amount of time reading Wooden Boat magazine, how does it feel to have your class as well as course featured in this magazine?
Very cool. Picture the one magazine that if you could have yourself in that magazine, right? So bear in mind, if you go back to the beginning of our conversation, it's the Wooden Boat that basically started this whole thing, right? When I saw the Wooden Boat magazine. So when I was at a conference last year, I bumped into the editor of Wooden Boat magazine, and she said that she was familiar with what we were doing because I keep them updated. She said, we want to do an article on people who have been following this guy, my hero, right, along his journey, and anybody who has been working with his program and is finding success in the classroom, we want to profile them in an article. So there we were in the magazine, and I guess for me, that just it legitimizes what we're doing. The fact that we've come along so far with this program in just 3 years that Wooden Boat has actually recognized that we seem to have nailed it.
Yeah, almost like a dream come true for you to be featured. Yeah.
Absolutely. Started STEM to STEM because kids like this need to get out of their bedrooms, they need to get out of the house, they need to put down their electronics, they need to get back to nature, they need to engage with each other.
I want to learn how to build a boat for fun because I thought it would be a good idea.
One cool thing that I've learned so far is how to stand things.
What made me want to get involved with STEM to STERN was the creativity and the opportunity to reach kids in a unique and different way.
The hardest part was probably standing.
I'm looking forward to putting it in the water.
People should get involved with STEM to STERN because it has such an amazing impact on the participants of the program.
So you definitely had a very successful career in the classroom. And how important is it to continuously be modifying as the projects that you're doing as well as what you're teaching?
Critical. So we're in year like 25, 26 right now for me. And if you go back 25, 26 years ago, we were doing the basics. We were building garden sheds, we were building birdhouses, right? I can't get excited about a birdhouse no matter how much I've tried. So along the way, we've kind of morphed from your basic birdhouses and sheds to something that I find quite exciting. So about 5 years ago, we got into boats as rowboats. 2 years ago, we turned the rowboats into sailboats. So we got involved with the Financial Yacht Club. So each year, or every other year, we kind of take the work that we're doing in the classroom and we up the ante a little bit, or we change it around. The whole idea is that if I can keep it fresh, then I can stay excited about it, and if I can stay excited about it, then I can get my students excited.
So next year, motorboats?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Well, actually, so let me just be clear that, and I hope I don't offend you, but I'm not a motorboat kind of guy. So, in our program, if you think about what we do, we ride bikes, so that's people powered. We row boats, that's human powered, and we sail boats, which is wind powered. So there is no engines, no motors. It's an environmental thing too. So we're trying to respect nature and respect the environment. So everything that we do is about clean and green.
Gotcha.
So there will never be a motorboat.
Maybe you could do solar powered or something.
Yes, it could.
And so while I was preparing for this interview, I checked out your website for STEM to STERN, and I was very impressed with the scope of this venture. Can you tell us a bit about where this idea came from?
Yes, I can. So the idea came from
Wooden Boat
my
Magazine.
hero, Joe, right, who essentially started this in 1997. So what we're doing is my interpretation of what he did then, and is in fact still doing. So STEM to STERN is a social enterprise, which by definition is a business set up for the purpose of positive social and environmental wellness. So again, the purpose is get kids off the street, get them to put down their cell phones, get them off their screens, get them out in nature, get them active. And I can only reach 30 students or so in my program in semester 2. It's only offered once per year. There's 30 kids in there, so I can only reach 30. But that's not enough for me. I want to be able to reach more kids.
Yeah.
So by setting up STEM as a term, I can now run it evenings, weekends, holidays, summer.
So now, as many that you can.
I can. So if I'm willing to give up my entire summer, which I did last summer, then theoretically I could reach a couple of hundred kids. So the concept is it's like a summer camp.
Okay.
So what I'm doing in school here, I'm trying to replicate in the summer and yet take it up one more notch.
Okay.
In its ultimate version, it would be a residency program where we would have a property where the kids could show up, they would actually live on site, not like other camps in the area, and they would live together as a group. So Monday to Friday, live together, and while they're building boats, and then they all go back to their families on weekends, and then we just kind of keep rotating them through.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
So do you have plans on doing that this summer maybe, or figuring out a way to do that?
Oh, we're definitely doing it.
Oh, wow.
In fact, I'm looking for some help.
Oh.
Somebody who's familiar with Woodwork magazine.
Oh, yes, I am.
Yeah. So
Very
that's
cool.
available.
Maybe I will be.
Okay. So definitely this summer. Right now, I'm actually heading to the board office on Monday. I've got the ear of all the coordinators involved with physical education, environmental education, all the outdoorsy people, experiential learning people, and we're looking at trying to take this program to the feeder schools, because that way, instead of just offering it to the grade 10s that I have now, I mean, there are some 120 elementary schools across the valley. So how can we, when I'm not required to be in my classroom, how can we get the kids from those feeder schools involved in this program? Do we try to bring them to school? Do I try to get to them? What does it look like?
Yeah. Do you have any plans for the near future?
Well, I would say that is the plan
Okay.
for the near future.
Okay. How soon do you think? Are you hoping for this summer?
Well, depending on how the meeting goes on Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
As soon as they say yes. The reality is that I've been studying this for 5 years now. I'm ready to go. So if somebody actually gave me the green light next week and said, would you be able to take a group of 20 elementary school kids after hours every Thursday, starting next week, then the answer would be yes.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk to me about this. It's crazy. So much that you've done. Very proud.
I'm looking forward to working with you.
Yes, I am too.